Okay, so we've just started a stream. Welcome everyone to episode 5 of the Daily Wise Cipher podcast. For a moment, I was like, I forgot the name of our stream. I'm so sorry. This always happens to me first thing in the morning. So we are going to continue analyzing chapter 1 of Spy Family. We last left off where Anya is told to study, I believe, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me and transfer screen. Oh dear, the screen is just acting up right now. Lovely. There we go. Alrighty, perfect. So everything should be working now. We started on this scene that says Anya's saying, "No, I don't wanna." This is the next day after she slept, if I remember correctly. And then we have, "Oh, I hate studying. I need to know if you have sufficient intellectual capacity for the entrance exam." So something I noticed right away is that in the beginning, Lloyd is very, he's using very strong, I don't know if I should say strong is the right word, or it's very highbrow vocabulary. So things that I picked up was saying, "I need to know if you have sufficient intellectual capacity for the entrance exam." So it's just very, again, it's not adjusting, and I really like that small detail, is that Lloyd is, let's see, Lloyd is using highbrow words.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's very interesting in terms of Spy Family, and just again, something that really intrigues me is how Spy Family uses language. It really stands out to me because a lot of the times the words that they use, it's there is a very strong reason why they're using that word. So again, for Lloyd to say, "I need to know if you have sufficient intellectual capacity for the entrance exam," Anya gets it, I guess you could say, but remember, she's probably around 5 years old at this time. And for Lloyd to really show distance, showing distance in his relationship with her, is that he's using language that she doesn't understand. So it's just very interesting whenever they use language like this. And then Anya, of course, says, "I hate studying. I don't need to study. I'll read the answer from..." And then she finishes the thought, "other kids' minds." And then Lloyd says, "You plan to cheat your way through? You realize that if you don't pass, my mission will fail." And I like that they just have this, they just, don't even finish their answer. So it shows, in a sense, they're hiding something, right? I like that. They're hiding the truth. So they're hiding the truth, which is kind of nice. I like that. Okay, then I see here in this moment, Anya, you went ahead and just circled this area. Why did you do that?
I think it echoes the panel in page 29 of Canva. So I think this is page 29.
Okay.
I circled that too. So it's kind of a way Ando shows that they don't understand each other.
Page 20.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this one. I like that. Nice catch. And it's it's interesting because in page 29, it's just they're standing and they're just looking at each other. And the second one's more expressive in the body language too. It just shows a little bit of look at them. Their body language. Nice catch.
Things escalated.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely their problem definitely escalated, and you can feel the tension in the room between them. Okay, now moving on to page 36. Enough of this. I'm going out. And then Anya's like, "Oh my gosh." And Lloyd's like, You're staying here today, and that's final. Slam. Stay at home and behave." And I love that Anya's like, "What?" And then
Not play about that.
yeah, absolutely. She's like, "I'm not. not even gonna listen to you. And then we have stay at home, behave, and then we see Anya actually escapes. Oh, okay. Something just like hit me really hard. So maybe, remember how I mentioned to you guys in the last episode, how maybe the way that it was framed, the narrator said it like as if Anya was a bad or difficult like student or like child or something, that she was returned 3 times. I'm assuming this is kind of her way of escaping, because I mean, Anya is an escape artist. Like, what if this is her way of why she was being returned, is that she just can't be trusted to listen, she escapes when no one's looking. So yeah, maybe this could have been one of the reasons why she was returned to the family, or returned to the orphanage. It's just very interesting.
Yeah.
So we have Lloyd saying, hey, I told you to stay put. So I like that he even like went the whole, I'm gonna take you all the way back to our apartment. I told you to stay put. And it's just very silly and cute. It's not safe out there. Okay, so you highlighted this, Moss. How come?
So I think there's 2 ways that you can see this. It's either not safe for Anya, or it's not safe for his mission. And you can't really tell at this point like how he's thinking, because obviously we have just heard him say that if you don't pass, my mission will fail. But he's also trying to keep Anya like stuck in the apartment,
Right.
potentially for her own safety. So it's like, I don't know, it's basically his mind trying to fight between doing what's right for him but also trying to look out for her in his own way.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that was it.
No, that's just very interesting, because the way you put it, I never thought of it that way. I thought of it as it's not safe out there from a frustrated dad who doesn't understand his daughter. He tells her it's not safe out there. So you saw it from another position because of the word it's very ambiguous. I love that you pointed that out, that it could also refer to the mission. Very interesting. I actually never saw it that way. Nice. And then we have, did you think I wouldn't see you there? Got you. Papa's really good at this. This is fun. This is really cute. Okay, Anya, why did you circle this entire panel?
I think just like we discussed before, that Twilight likes to use highbrow words or spy words. The vocabs just that intelligence agencies use. Then I think Anya here, and in later panels, we would start to see her getting into the playtech world of thinking. So basically, the playing tech thing would continue until the end of this chapter.
That's so cute. Yeah, really good point that you mentioned that. So like this playfulness continues for a while, right? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, and I think even if like Twilight pretends not wanting to play with her here, I think he understands what she wants, and he tries to use her language or what she thinks to lure her to do whatever he wants her to do, but late in this chapter.
Yes, that makes sense. Like, it takes time for him to understand, because right now he's only focused on, I think what I like to call it is like the adult language acquisition, in a sense, is like he's using what he knows, his language. He doesn't understand children language, if that makes sense, like you said.
Yeah.
So it takes him some time to understand it, because like right now, I kind of feel like, as of right now, the role of Lloyd doesn't feel like a dad. He feels like an annoyed older brother, in a sense, right now. Because he's like, I don't know you, I don't understand. He's very hostile towards this little thing, like the way he called Anya, this creature. So it's very interesting that you point that out. And I can't wait to see like how else we get to see some more playful side here. So we can go ahead and scroll down here. We go straight to Frankie, and that's why you're late. In the end, I had to trap her inside a bike barricading the front door. He's so funny. I can't with him. you're not getting out now. He seems so evil. I feel like Lloyd is taking on the villain role here. Something I also realized, I was thinking about this the whole day. I was like, wait, how did Lloyd keep Anya in there if the door is supposed to open inward? And I'm like, I realized he put the little rope tied to whatever that is, a trash bin maybe. You're not getting out now.
Yeah.
And then he's just very smug. I just think it's so funny. When we point out the heh thing, I didn't realize that actually Lloyd said it first. Like, I only remember it because of Anya's face. And now to see it again, I'm like, oh, actually Lloyd made that sound. Or Twilight, sorry. I'm not gonna pray you don't get... I'm gonna pray you don't get reported for child abuse. That's just so funny. And in here, I just cannot fathom the way children think. Crying is their solution to everything. It's utterly frustrating. They're kids, Twilight. Crying's their job. So you went ahead and circled this. So why did you do that, Anya?
I think that we've talked about how Twilight hate people being irrational. But like the whole thing, like him trying to understand his family members, still going on. Even now. But we could see that this could be the start, but we can see the change behind his mindset. Like he already has explained why he doesn't like children or doesn't like their ways of thinking.
Right.
But I think he changed a lot. He's changed a lot, even if this like he still doesn't understand, but his mindset has changed a lot. That's why I circled it.
That's actually a good point too. And something to also point out is we use a very crucial word here. I just cannot fathom the way children think. Crying is their solution. I feel like this is an extension of his past, right? As all he thinks about, like, he's kind of triggered. He's all like, oh, well, how do children really cope to everything? Crying is their solution. So I feel like this is kind of like an extension of his past. Like, maybe that's the thing that really stands out about his childhood is crying, and then to make that connection with Anya, who was crying literally the day before, it's just triggering a trauma, kind of like a traumatic, I don't know if it's traumatic, right word, it's like triggering a very strong memory in him. Like anything he thinks about children is just crying is their solution. It makes him feel very angry because it reminds him of his past, and of course he mentions it later that it's just a trauma response. I don't know if I'm even saying the right word, if trauma response is the right word for it, but yeah, it just really stands out to him. We have Frankie who said, anyways, I got what you wanted. The application, an appointment for the entrance exam, and a copy of the test. Very interesting how... I'm really curious as to how Frankie got that. Just very, very interesting. I always wanted to, like, zoom in and see what information's on there. Something... blue? I can't read it at all. Does it make sense to you guys? I feel like it just, like...
No.
It makes sense, like the words feels like it's legible, but it's not at the same time. I don't understand. Secret file, I can't read it. Okay, so everything's in there. I kind of wonder what this is, 900. I think it's just a random copy of a letter, I guess. It would be very interesting if the reference of this letter is actually real. It would be very interesting. But anyways, that wasn't easy to get, you know. And you're a lifesaver, Frankie. Even if she's a total dullard, she should be able to memorize her way through it. So I also like this word stood out to me too, Moss. So why did you highlight this one?
It's like a surprisingly strong, I don't know if that's like the way to say it, but like it's a strong word. It's obviously like an old word as well, like you don't really hear it very often anymore. But just the entire phrase, even if she's a total dullard, it's like he has absolutely no belief. he's literally just thinking like, worst case scenario, she's totally awful, it will still be fine. Like he just has he doesn't believe in her at all in this little area.
Yes. it's very interesting too because I could make sense of it and also agree that dullard must be a very like another way of saying idiot or stupid. But another thing that stood out to me is that I don't hear this word in American English. So I was wondering, is this something that you hear in British by any chance?
I have heard it before, yeah.
Oh, so it is a British origin. I feel like very
Yeah, I
strong.
think so.
That's so interesting. So we have a Brit, I guess you could say, Brit English.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting because when I looked at it, I was like, I don't think we have this word in American English. So again, here comes the mix of American and British coming back. So she should be able to memorize her way through it. Very interesting. Because I even looked it up just now. I was like, okay, the word dullard, checking up Gemini, is dullard a British say? Oh no. Come on, Gemini. Oh my goodness, sorry. So I found, it says here, while the word dullard is understood and used in both British and American English, it's generally considered a bit more common in British English. So interesting. Because I don't think, I was thinking that maybe the word dullard might actually give you an insight of like what era it's from. Interestingly, I was like going through this whole deep dive of like linguistics last night, and I realized that in forensics linguistics, the way people are able to ID you as a speaker or like the way you write too is through something called what did we call it? Idio something. Shoot. And basically, it's like basically like a fingerprint of how you speak, right? Idiolect, I think is what it is. So I was wondering if the word dullard might actually be used in the 1970s because that's kind of the time when Spy Family was technically set in. So that's why I was like very interested to see like, okay, so if the word's dullard, was the word dullard used in the 1970s? Okay, interesting, yes. So I was looking up on Gemini and it says, yes, the word dullard was definitely used in the 1970s. While it might not have been used like the most common word, it was certainly in use. The word dullard has been around for much longer than the 1970s. It originated in the Middle English, dating back to the 15th century. So if you came across the word dullard in the movie or TV show from the 1970s, it's perfectly accurate for that time frame. Interesting. So yeah, so it's very interesting because I think modern day they still use it in Britain, right? Moss?
Not as often. It's a lot of it's from like the older people. Think like people aged 60 and over. I've ever heard it from.
Okay, that makes sense that it would come from them because it was most likely from their time, and very interesting to see that this because like I don't even hear it on like my daily basis. Maybe the older generation probably says it, but I don't spend a lot of time with them, that age group, so I wouldn't have heard that word. And then it's more popular in the 1970s. Very interesting. I really like that. So yeah, we got like a timestamp marked with that word. Very interesting. So scrolling down, we have and about her, I did some digging into her past. There aren't any birth records out there at all. We don't know her age or who her parents were. All we could find was from the last year or so. She's been fostered out and returned 4 times. So interestingly, they said fostered and returned 4 times. So, and then got transferred out to other orphanages too. So she got transferred to other orphanages too. That's a lot in just like a short time. Anya Williams, Anya Levesky, and Anya Levsky and Anya Roche, problem child. Okay, so Anya, you went ahead and circled that.
I'm just thinking that Anya has been called a problem child for quite a few times. This is the first time.
Yeah.
And I think in the chapter where she helped Damien, is that George? Yeah. In that George chapter, she's called the problem child again.
Yes. Like the word problem child is attached to Anya. I definitely see that. And it's actually very interesting that that stood out to you. It's good. I'm really glad that it did. And it just really goes to show here that Frankie did a lot of digging. She was fostered and returned 4 times. So interesting. So many things happened to her in such a short time, you know? So she was fostered 4 times and returned 4 times. Then she got transferred to other orphanages too. That's like 6 times in total, you know? Like she went in and out 6 times. That's so crazy for me because poor little Anya, we don't even know how long she escaped other than the most recent chapter 111. We know that she was with her mother at 2 to 3 years old, so she probably escaped around maybe late 3, maybe 4 years old, and then she ended up on the orphanage. So based on what Anya mentioned from volume 13, Endo said that the manga was close to Anya's age, so she's around 5. For me, I'm just like, why isn't Endo just trying to, like, why can't he just say that she's 5 years old? Like, that would make life easier. Because even MJ called me out on it. She was like, hey, just want to let you know it's not confirmed that she is 5. It says that Endo says the book is close to her age, which is 5. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
the word choice.
I think, yeah. That is why I think I still think she might be 4 something 5, which makes sense.
But that means she would have escaped shortly after that memory. That would make the most sense then. Like maybe within the same year or end of the year. And
yeah.
And then, because to me it would be very confusing because it's like, how did Anya get returned 6 times? It's like, my assumption is, did this happen all in 1 year? That she was fostered several times, and then she got transferred to 2 orphanages too. So it's just like showing, like, first and foremost, it looks bad for an orphanage to get the same person back in because it hurts their reputation for sure. So it's just very interesting to think about, like, a timeline of when did this all go down, because it's a very, very tight and small time frame, because all I can think of to justify this is that it happened between 4 to 5 years old, that she's been fostered and returned 4 times and transferred twice too. So it's very interesting thinking of a timeline for that. I'm sure in due time we'll figure it out and learn it all. But anyways, a girl of many names. It's like she's the perfect kid for you, Twilight. I actually really love this. Also, something that stood out to me here is the way that Frankie looks like one of those, you know what I'm talking about? Those cats that's like with the paw, like moving?
Mm-hmm.
He looks like that. I don't know. In this particular design, must be the eyes. But in a sense as well, it's almost as if he's like coincidentally saying like, oh yeah, good luck to you on that, because I know that, I don't know, is it like a Chinese origin? Is it, Anya? The cat that I'm talking about? I feel like it's like trying to tell, in a way, the smugness that Frankie's wearing right now or expressing kind of reminds me of like saying good luck, in a sense.
Oh, that cat. I think that's a Japanese cat.
I don't remember the origins. It's like a good luck cat, I think.
It's like a good fortune cat.
Yes.
In Chinese we call it like for good fortune also, or wealth, like praying for good wealth, like saying hi to the wealth.
That's so interesting. That is interesting, yeah. I looked it up just now, and it's called Maneki Neko, also known as beckoning cat or lucky cat, right? So it's a symbol of good luck in Japan and have become a beloved charm around the world. So it's actually very interesting because it says you'll often see them in shops and restaurants, and I'm like, oh, Frankie looks like, I mean, he is in front of a tobacco shop, so. But then again, it's just, you know, I just think it's so funny because then again, we're going back to the topic of cats because it's related to Endo, you know? He makes his characters have some sort of cat-like mannerism, expressions sometimes, behavior sometimes. So it's very interesting. I don't know why, but this just stood out to me. I just saw the Maneki Neko from Frankie just now. Okay, so without further ado, I'm gonna move on to the next page. that was a... Oh, wait, did I miss this one? Oh, yeah. So we have Twilight just glaring at at Frankie. And Frankie's like, that was a joke. Don't give me that look. What look? Don't get attached, alright? Never ends well. Thanks for the tip. Hey, my fee! He's just... It's just so funny. So I think this is just really funny and cute. So Anya, you went ahead and circled that. Just don't get attached, alright? Never ends well. Why did you circle that?
Yeah, I just think both of them have attachment issues.
Yes.
Yeah. Just like, but Frankie doesn't really like to say it directly. Frankie likes to joke first, and then add in the important information. This is how he talks.
Ooh, okay. Interesting way you put
It's
it.
like he tries to be not serious, but like he puts serious stuff like in a bunch of jokes or unserious things.
Very interesting that you put it that way. Because, like, in a sense, it's showing that he's avoiding it, or like the way he copes with it is through jokes. In a sense, it's just his character. Aw, I never realized that. Dang, you really are pointing out like very strong character analyses here for me. I love it. So, I also agree with this because, with what you said, I feel like Lloyd and Frankie are naturally emotional people. Because, I mean, in the beginning, we know baby Lloyd, baby redacted, he is a crybaby. He's a very feely person, and we get to see this much later in the chapter. But the people who tend to be very emotional are usually the people who are easily attached. At least that's my first-hand experience. And they try to cope with it by being more cold and be the opposite of their personality. So Frankie, though, I feel like it's kind of unique in this case because he always gets attached. I feel like he doesn't have the defense wall that Lloyd has or Twilight has. Because he gives off a very carefree kind of guy here. So I even though he says this, just don't get attached, alright? Never ends well. He knows this himself, and he still ends up getting attached. Poor guy. What I mean is, like, through dating. You know, like, he always has crushes on girls. He does get attached. Like, I mean, that's an investment of trying to get a girlfriend. So, yeah. Poor guy. Ugh. I seriously cannot fathom the way spies think. Okay, Moss, you went ahead and circled this. Why did you circle that?
So this is repetition from really not long ago.
Yeah.
Where obviously Twilight was talking about Anya.
Uh-huh.
And I just thought it's funny to see the repetition come in so early.
Oh, yes.
Because we will see it quite a lot later. Like it's one of the biggest parts of what I've noticed through the manga is that there's just a lot of the same stuff happening again and again. And I think this just kind of really sets up the rest of the story in a way. Just to be like, it is kind of the same thing happening over and over, but it's just very individualized.
Yes, I like that. So I feel like I know exactly what you're trying to say. It's just putting into perspective that volume 1 or like chapter 1 just came out as being serialized, right? So they always reveal the first chapter to make sure like, okay, is this manga gonna do really well? So they're gonna serialize it. So I really like that you pointed out repetition because first we have Twilight, who says it about Anya, like you mentioned, and now we have Frankie pointing out about spies. So repetition is just kind of in a sense, it's like a foreshadow, right? What's in store for what is Spy Family? I like that you pointed that out because repetition can indicate foreshadow in terms of literary analysis. Okay. So moving on here, we have Anya, bored. I'm so bored for Anya. Very relatable. I feel like when this scene debuted, especially in the anime, everyone was like, oh yeah, same. Very relatable. Next page, the poster he bought for her. I like that they make that connection. I thought living with a spy would be cooler. I want to disarm bombs and stuff. And then while they're away, while Twilight's away, I'd better make a habit of locking this. I can't have her touching my spy tools. Clap, clap. Combination is 6110. And Anya's just like very excited. I feel like it was a 6-code combination, right? Not 4
Yeah, I
code.
think so.
Yeah, I thought so. I was like, wait, I think it was 6 combination. So I like that they started 611 for that. I wonder if there's anything significant for 611. What Anya? What's up?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Actually, it means Lloyd
Huh?
in Japanese.
Oh, okay. So is it like
So,
one of those phones
like,
that match with characters?
Lloyd. It's kind of like if you shorten 6 is Loku, right?
Yeah, Loku.
Lo I do.
Oh my god, that's actually very interesting. Oh my god, that's brilliant.
And it's actually translated in the Taiwanese version too.
That's so cool. I never knew that. That's so interesting. So we have Lloyd. So 6 is Loku, right? Loku.
Yeah, but if you shorten it, you can like
Loku.
sometimes the ku can be cut.
Yes, I know what you mean
So
because
yeah,
when I was learning counting in Japanese, I was like, wait, one. I mean, like, why is it 6 becomes Loku becomes lo or something? So yeah, very interesting. So we have Loku, not R. They pronounce it as an L sound. Roku each. I think it's each. How do I just spell Ichi? Oh yes, ECHI. The hardest thing about being a linguist is you forget how to spell. Because a lot of the times my brain is going to translating it in my head. I start to think of it as like this, for example. And that's how I spell now. It's like, what am I doing? That's the problem with me as a linguist. It's like, now I know how to do it in terms of IPA, how to spell it. But when it's coming down to like just writing it in English again, I'm like, shoot, how do I spell? the problems of being a linguist. Okay. Roku ich. And then, what's 0 in Japanese? I forgot. 0, right?
yes.
Okay, interesting. So it sounds like Lloyd, right? Very interesting.
Yes.
I love that.
I think if you go to the Japanese version of this, Ando even put his name next to the 611, so with Lloyd's name next to it.
Like Lloyd, basically, right?
Yes. He basically put this next to the numbers.
Oh, interesting.
And this is Lloyd's name, so.
Man, I'm not even there yet. Is this katakana, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The fun thing about Spy Family is that it uses katakana a lot.
Yeah.
Because katakana is used especially when it is a foreign loan word.
Yeah.
Loan words from the Western world, and that is when they use katakana. So I think for this reason, a lot of time Andrew even uses katakana. Even it could he doesn't need to use katakana. He still uses it. And I think that might create a sense that this is from the West.
Oh, okay, interesting. That's very interesting. Because if it wasn't for katakana, would you assume that they would normally use like kanji and a mix of all 3 orthographies, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I like that. There's a lot of big brain moments in Spy Family, especially if you analyze the linguistic aspect of it. Like you mentioned, I never really thought of it that way. That I remember that learning katakana is supposed to represent foreign words, right? Or what did the
It is used when the word is a foreign loan word, but it's not a Chinese loan word, but more like the loan words from the West.
Yeah.
So they use
Interesting.
katakana.
That is so interesting. So yeah, I wanted to point this out because maybe it'd be interesting to share. The writing system in Japanese, they have 3 kinds, right? We have hiragana as the first one you learn, then katakana, then kanji. So if I remember correctly, if you use hiragana, it's Japanese origins, Japanese words. If it's a foreign word, usually related to Western, it's katakana. And if it's very foreign, like for example, then like Chinese, for example, then they're gonna use what's it called? They will use
Kanji?
kanji. Yes, thank you. There was something interesting that I also read in terms of my linguistic course. There's actually a social linguistic relationship actually with Japanese. If it's a word that they're not a fan of, or like maybe it's a relationship that they have a strain with a certain country, they would more likely use kanji than katakana. That's something I remember coming across. They're like, that's, and I was like, wait, that's so interesting. Because I think they said something of, like, for example, the history between Korea and Japan. Anything that's related to Japanese, they're gonna use kanji, not katakana, because it's a reflection of their relationship and history. Like they had, of course, they were at war with each other at one point, right? So it's like, it's a reflection of their language distancing themselves some further, so they would use kanji on relationships that they're not, like they're further from them, if that makes sense. It was very interesting.
Understand.
It's very
That
interesting.
reminds me of something else, but I probably will say it after this.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, but it's history related too, so you might
Yes.
be interested in this. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's just very interesting to point out. And I just never knew that, you know, Spy Family would actually be a really good practice for me in Japanese, now that we're talking about it. Because I haven't got into katakana yet, so moving on. We have Russell, then we see Anya thinking it's a bomb, and a gun.
No, I think she's looking for a bomb. Like she wants to find a bomb or a silenced pistol.
I know, this girl, man. Like, she's so, like, into, what is it, Bond Man?
Five steps.
The romanticization. This poor girl. Yeah. It's just a concern. It's like, what kid looks for that stuff, you know? It's like, that's dangerous. But then again, it's Lloyd basically blew his cover, quote, quote, because we have a telepath in the team. So she has access to these stuff. So she's wrestling and looking for stuff, and she's looking for the bomb and a silent pistol. It's interesting because she thinks of it here in the manga, but when we're watching the anime, she actually says the words, right? She says silenced pistol, she says, I don't remember she says bomb, but I remember specifically she said something about rummaging through stuff and she says silenced pistol. And then she's all like, oh, what's this? I don't even know what that is. I'm like, huh, what's that? And then she opens it and she finds out it's a spy radio, in a sense. What is that she's holding? I don't recognize it. Moss, do you happen to recognize this equipment? Or like what she's holding in particular?
No, I have no idea, sorry.
No worries. I'm just curious. So we see the spy radio. Is that what we call them? Or what's the actual word for this?
I think it's a spy radio.
Ooh. I wish I think there might be an actual name for it, but I just don't know. Anyways, so very interesting. I really love that, again, Endo-san does his homework really well because he's actually using an actual model, I believe. Like he's usually very accurate whenever he's referencing like certain instruments from this time. It's just very interesting. So we go down and we see Anya. Oh, sorry, did you want to say something, Anya?
Oh, I'm just looking for, because I did some research on this these spy radio sets, so
yeah.
I just shared the link if you're interested.
Okay, let's see. The Crypto Museum. Oh, nice. It's like clandestine radio equipment. people have been trying transmitters and receivers for communication. It's very interesting. And we have different versions too. I wonder which version.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm curious about like which version she got.
Actually, I had a discussion with Bob, and I think it's a mix between two versions.
Two Russians?
Two versions.
Oh, two versions.
It's a
I'm sorry.
mixture of two versions.
Okay, sorry. Which one was it?
It's a discussion quite long ago, and I think I said that the one in the anime is kind of similar to Ryan, Rion.
Ryan. Let's see if I can. Oh, that's a lot of them. Oh my.
Here, I'll just send you another picture then.
Yeah, no problem.
But that is, we were discussing the one the anime used. I've just sent this one.
Oh, I see.
But I think it's a mixture of two different spy radios.
Very interesting because I can actually see it. The Ryan. So interesting. That's actually pretty cool. That's sick. Oh my gosh. So we have the Ryan. Okay. Developed in 1957. Former Soviet USSR. The device intended to clandestine operation in foreign countries. It was similar to the British B2 spy set. Let me see. Is it also like British inspired? British looks different.
I think they inspire each other.
They do.
Most probably.
Yeah, because I see British has a lot more. Maybe it's just me. There's more cables, I guess. Or well, their tools are more out in the open, whereas the Ryan is just covered. Interesting. That's so cool. I love seeing this stuff. That's awesome. Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I can definitely see the Ryan as an influence for this version. What was the other one that you said that it was combined with?
I'm sure. I just think that it could. I really forgot. I just mentioned Ryan, but maybe ESK52 or maybe one of the whole 350 series.
Interesting. Do you happen to have the link for that?
Oh, well, I'm just using the same link I sent you, the first link.
Oh, okay. The first link.
Yeah.
I think it was previous. What was it called again?
You can see the R350 series. The R350, just below the Ryan. It's a little bit further down. You could see Ryan here.
Okay, I see Ryan.
Yeah, the first line here. R350, and R350.
Oh, I see.
Kind of like that.
Ah, I see it. Yeah, it seems like a mix of these two. Because I see the knobs part.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. Wow. It's amazing that you can just pick that up. That's amazing, Anya. Thank you for sharing. I love it. I really love how Spy Family's quite accurate. Sometimes even a mix, like this part is definitely a mix of the two from real life. One thing that... Go ahead. What did you want to say?
Sorry. And also this one. I was looking for this one too.
Okay.
So
Me too.
This would be...
Oh yes, this is the one I saw earlier too.
Yeah.
I see. So it's like a combination of these three, probably.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing. Awesome.
No problem.
So, yeah, the thing I wanted to mention was the accuracy of at least the inspirations of some equipment. Like, this one for sure is a mixture, but I always want to point out the details of, like, a pistol, for example. Like I mentioned before, I have a best friend who is a gun collector, and oftentimes we would go to the shooting range together. So he's very, like, pro-gun, because his dad used to work in the army. I think his dad was an army, or was it Navy? I can't remember. But yeah, so he loves anything guns, and he was praising Spy Family in terms of like the artist was able to accurately create the gun. Like he had, like Endo-san is attentive to detail. I actually saw this kind of gun available at the gun shop or like the shooting range that I went to. It was like very interesting. They called it the, I don't know if it's this gun in particular, but they call it the James Bond gun, you know? It's very interesting. Like, they actually have the nicknames for it, because then again, it's popularized by James Bond, so they had some nicknames for the guns, and you kind of recognize it. But it was so cool, because one time I showed this panel to my best friend, and he was like, he named the gun immediately. He's like, oh wow, he's like, that's a, for example, that's a Kruger gun or something. And I'm like, what? I'm like, how do you know? He's like, it's a detail. Like, look at the backing here. He's like, you even used something like that. I was like, oh, interesting. I never really thought of it that way, but very interesting. And I guess I could understand if you're someone who's very fond of a certain thing. If a manga is able to accurately depict it or draw it, it's like pride, you know? It's like, wow, that's actually really cool that they really cared enough to get attention to details, you know? But anyways, before I yap any further, we're gonna go to page 41. We see Anya is randomly tapping. It's actually very interesting how she even ended up on the station. And someone reported, boss, we're intercepting some kind of weird transmission. And then it says coded with the West's cipher. No, it's just plain text. It says, Twilight here. Twilight here? This is the frequency used by Western intelligence. It might really be him. There's more. Catch me if you can. And then we see him being very upset. Very interesting.
I kind of want to talk about this.
Yes, go for it.
I just want to. I remember seeing a lot of people talking about how it doesn't sound like a child.
Yes.
When she typed "catch me if you can," but then I think it isn't translated as well, because I sent you the videos, right?
Right.
And it is actually a saying that is commonly used when you play tag. So that is what I say when she's still in the playing tag mindset, because this is kind of like I think it's Onisan Kochila.
Right.
Which is like a phrase or a chant Japanese children would use when they play tag.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, it's very childish. It's still like a game for Anya. You can see. Yeah, you could play it now.
Okay. So I'm gonna mute the music for a second. Let's pause this for a second and then play this. So it's so low. My bad. Is it low for you guys too? It's very low for me.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I remember.
Anyway.
Okay. Let me try it again. Sorry. Go back here just a little bit.
Boss, 新しい通信を傍受しました。西の暗号か。いえ、平文のようです。黄昏参上。黄昏参上。西の組織が使ってる周波数です。あ、また。お兄さんこちら。発信源の特性急げ。
Okay, so we have him saying that, and then we can compare it to the video you showed me earlier, which is this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
お兄さんこちら手のなる方へ
So it's just that first couple seconds, right?
Yes, just this.
So
And this is the chant they use.
yeah, it's very interesting that you point that out, that they're using a specific chant. Something that stood out to me is Anya can use shoot, what is it called? It's not text. It's just very interesting that they say, oh, it's in regular text. It's I can't remember the word, guys. Help me. I can't remember what it's called. What they're doing. They're just doing that. What did they call that? My brain is blanking out. What is it called, guys? Help me.
I don't know.
What?
Like
You
the
mean
tapping
what?
that they're making. There's a specific name for it. I forgot what it's called.
Morse code.
Yes, thank you. I can't believe I forgot it. Yes, Morse code. It's just incredible to me because I realize now after watching this, it's like or just rewatching it and having this discussion, Anya is much more intelligent than we give her credit for. Because she can do Morse code. You know, like what freaking 5-year-old knows Morse code? You know. That's something that stood out to me just now. I'm like, oh my god, why did this like just glaze over me? Can you imagine though? If Anya was put into a situation where she has to use Morse code, she can do it. Cause like, how did she know Tasogare was like her dad's name? I mean, like, how did she know she could spell it with Morse code? And showing it here too. The phrasing is just plain text. Very interesting that they say it that way, because I think this is definitely a reflection of, again, the timeline, 1970s. Because we don't call it plain
Also-
text. Yeah.
Mhm.
What did you want to add, Anya?
I'm not sure about it because I think there's a possibility that he typed instead. But yeah, but I agree that he's very intelligent.
Very. I don't know if I spelled it right. Morse code, right? How do you spell it?
Yeah,
Oh.
that's how you spell it.
Thank you. I'm like, my brain is not working. Morse code. And it's just very interesting to hear the language. Back in the day, they called it plain text. But then again, this could...
Do you not call it plain text?
No. I don't think we call it... I don't think I do. I think it might be jargon. You know, spy jargon. Maybe even, like, army jargon. You know?
Yeah, but in this context, it's just an answer. So the question coded with the West cipher, and the answer is no. It's just plain text. It's just a normal message. It's an uncoded message. I think that's what that means.
Yes, like that's it. I would say it's uncoded. I would say like, oh no, is it coded with the West cipher? I'd be like, no, not at all. They're using just regular, like it's uncoded. Is probably I would say uncoded, but to hear it say like plain text, it just sounds really weird to me. I don't know. That's just me though, guys. I don't know. It's just again, it's like maybe it's I lack the jargon or experience working in the army or in spy, whatever. Maybe it could be just I'm not part of that, I don't know, that bubble, that I don't hear the word plain text and it just really sounds weird to me, at least for me. I apologize. So I don't hear it as it's just plain text. For me, it's just made me really curious as to like this language is kind of strange for me. I don't know, but it's normal for you, Moss?
I mean, I've heard the phrase plain text a lot. I don't know, maybe that's just me.
Cause I think it's because for me could also be my background in education. When I hear plain text, text is reading, associated to eyes. So I would probably be more sensitive in terms of hearing words that's related to hearing. I would say no, I'm hearing uncoded, like it's an uncoded cipher. See, like how I'm framing it with my words, it's just like something to indicate that's listening. But to say plain text just makes me feel like reading. It's associated to reading, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's why it sounds weird to me, because it's like my background in education just makes me feel like plain text is related to reading, but this is listening because he's wearing headphones. You know, that's why it stood out to me.
Yeah. I think well I've just checked the Japanese version and the Taiwanese version, and it might be clearer because it's just like, is it a code from the West, and that's why the answer is it's plain text.
It's just very interesting.
It's kind of like, is it a code? But it's not coded. I think that is what I read.
No, that's fine. I'm glad we're talking about this too, because low-key though, guys, low-key, I was thinking like if I'm not going anywhere with my linguistics degree, I'll go into the army. Or I'll be in this room, I'll be just like this guy intercepting codes. That's my backup plan.
Don't make yourself suffer like that, believe me. It's not worth it.
It's very interesting. But yeah, I don't know if we still use Morse code. I don't think we do. We probably use different language nowadays because we know. Because I know in my field, there's a lot of people from the Army and Navy that came to my university. They're often recruiting linguists because they need more people. And I'm just like, maybe I'll think about it. But in any case, go ahead.
That's so odd to me because I learn like multiple different like language, like military like languages as a child.
Right.
I learned Morse code. I learned like flag signals. So it's quite funny because like it's definitely still used quite a lot. I remember someone that I know was sent out to Iran and was still using Morse code, so it's still used.
So
It's not just spoken about as much.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. Cause I admire the way that you were brought up because you know about this stuff. Cause I feel like in a sense, I feel like with the world modernizing in a sense, I felt this feeling that maybe we moved away from Morse code, but then again to hear that Morse code is still being used, it's like wow, they're showing that there's different avenues of communication, and it's still, even if it's outdated, quote, Morse code's kind of still old, but they're still using it to this day. It's just really incredible to hear. I just think that's awesome. So thank you for sharing. Oh my god, that makes me happy. Like, part of me, low-key, I just have this in my brain where it's like, I just want to learn Morse code just for the hell of it. But in any case, moving on. Going on to page 42, we have find the source of that transmission. I'm gonna kill him. And then Anya is so satisfied. Phew. So interesting. In terms of the source of that transmission, back in the day, were you able to really like identify the source of the transmission by just?
I think so.
It's so interesting. Technology is so interesting, especially from a spy perspective too. So we have Anya who's satisfied, leaving out a code, and again, very interesting to see that Anya is Morse code. Let's see, Morse code, intellectual, or maybe this is something she copied from Bond. Like, let me see, like she copied exactly the phrasing from Bondman. But then again, it doesn't make sense how she was able to get Tasugare, right? So very interesting that she's definitely. Go ahead, Anya.
I think it's because Twilight himself was calling himself Tasugare.
Right.
Remember, like in the orphanage, I said the colleague in one of the panels he called himself Tasugare.
No. What I mean is she knows how to spell it in Morse code. That's what I mean. So it's just
I
interesting.
I think what's interesting is that in the Japanese version, he didn't use Anya didn't use English letters. She uses is it katakana? Yeah, she uses katakana.
She uses katakana just for his name, right?
Yes. For the whole exchange between her and Edgar. So what they receive is in katakana.
Okay, interesting. That is actually very interesting because it just reflects, how does she know? In a sense, like, where is her intellect coming from? She's just 5 years old and she has all of this knowledge or like hidden talent in a sense. Yeah, very interesting. And I like that you pointed out. Okay, so I guess moving on, we have this next scene, messy. We see Anya's bringing out the mess from Twilight's bedroom. And I think this is so cute because we get to see all of his gadgets in a sense. I see that you circled the glasses, Anya.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, because they were looking for his glasses.
He was actually looking for his glasses?
No, you were looking for his glasses. You were looking at, like, his glasses when we were discussing about how Robert threw his glasses away.
Yes. The glasses from even the first, the cover too, right? Actually, not the cover,
Yeah.
the cover art. So
Yeah.
he ends up using these glasses again for interviewing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, we definitely get to see his glasses making a comeback again. I wonder if we could actually see what kind of gadgets these other things are. Because it's actually nice to see if there's references. Because I feel like some of these, in a sense, feel like it's possibly alluding to other spy movies. You know, like for example, when I see the umbrella, I think about Kingsman.
Yeah. I think they both are very influenced by Kingsman.
I feel like this is just a moment to just allude. Like
Yeah.
they're just referencing old ones. I wonder what this is because I can't tell what that is. Can you guys tell?
Mhm.
Like the other gadgets.
Sorry.
Is this a lamp?
I think there's a camera.
This one's a camera down here, right?
I think this is a camera.
Yeah, that's a
I
camera.
think that's a camera.
What's this one then? I'm curious about this one. Is that
That's not a microscope, is it?
that was my other guess. I'm like, is that a microscope or is that like a torch? Like a small lamp or something? I don't think it's a lamp. Might be a microscope, like you mentioned. I don't know. Something about this, again, it just reminds me of the teaser for season 3. You know how Anya's like surrounded by all of these little knickknacks around her room? Of course, they're like symbolism of what's to come for the animation. I feel like this is kind of a sense. I feel like this probably could have been an inspiration for it, because maybe it's alluding to, again, illusion, but also referencing at the same time. I don't know what else is there. What's this in the corner? I wonder what this is. Any ideas, ladies? What is that?
No
I'm
idea.
not really sure.
Me
It's too
neither.
tiny.
I can't tell what that is either. This one might be a bomb? The one I'm circling. Maybe. Like, you know how like
I think it's another.
it's a what? I'm sorry. It's like a bomb timer. I don't know what you call the remote. The bomb remote, maybe. I don't know. And then we have this. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Anya.
I was thinking that's another transmitter.
Another transmitter. Okay, I can see that. And then we have the spy transmitter, the main one right here. Okay. So Anya went ahead and starts cleaning up. Actually, this kind of stands out to me because I would imagine that Lloyd is someone, or Twilight is someone who's very keen when it comes to cleanliness. Because as a spy, we saw already, like, we're gonna see this in the next few pages or so. Lloyd is someone who takes notice of things that are changed. So, in a sense, actually no, Anya got lucky actually, now that I think about it. Because if she rummaged through his stuff, he could justify like, oh, maybe Edgar's people rummaged through his stuff to confirm that he's a spy.
Yes.
He wouldn't know it was Anya because he comes back home to that. So in a sense, Anya kind of covered her butt. She technically would have been in so much trouble if she didn't get caught by Edgar's henchmen and Lloyd came back to seeing his stuff being moved around. He'll know for sure that Anya did something. Because I get the sense that he would pick up on stuff like that. And very interesting that Anya's imagination is Lloyd again, having the gun pointed at her. Again, something to point out again with the gun. Finger on the trigger. So if I ever see someone pointing their fingers inside the trigger chamber, it's immediate. Like your death is imminent in a sense because they're not here to play, you know? If their finger's outside a trigger, it shows like, okay, they're kind of cautious around you, but remember, anytime the trigger's in the chamber, he's ready to shoot at any given moment. So it's very interesting that Anya imagines her dad going to hurt her in a sense, you know? Or then again, it makes sense because children are always saying the expression, oh, he's gonna kill me. We have actual visual of that instead of her actually saying, oh, he's gonna kill me. He's literally going to in her head. Now transitioning over, we have Anya picking up what I believe might be a camera recorder, maybe? Feels like it's old-fashioned.
Yeah, maybe.
And we scroll down here. We have, I have to hide my power too. If he finds out I can read minds, I'll have to run away. Anya, you can't ever tell anyone about your power. You understand that, right? So very interesting that we have a memory coming back, flashback of Anya's time.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's study time now, Anya. But I want to draw. Drawing doesn't matter. You need to learn how to use your power to help bring about world peace. And I see that you underline world peace, so we know the relationship. Anything else you want to add, Anya? Since you underlined it.
We talked about how she talked about world peace. That's not what children normally do, and this could be the hint. Like, because she is trained to bring about world peace. At least she thought so, or at least this is what the scientist told her. And I also want to go back to the page before.
Yeah, sure.
Because if we look at a font, then Lloyd in Anya's imagination could be talking in Spy Wars. Like, this is not what Lloyd would say.
Oh.
So there's a fancy font here. But then when you look at the font of the scientist dialogue, so it's kind of like, yeah, it's different, and it's not fancy.
Yes, I like
or
that.
it indicates something that is from the past.
That is so true. Yeah, now that you point that out, it just reminds me of who does lettering. I think her name is Rena. Rena does lettering, so it's very, like, even the text itself is very, it's an art form, or it's also expressive to tell you what it is. And I really like that this stood out to you. Oh my god, I didn't think this through. Like you said, it definitely might be related to Bondman. I agree with you. With Twilight saying, now that you know I'm a spy, you have to die. It's very Bondman kind of text. And then we get to see an actual, like, not an imagination. We see, like, it's basically italicized. The font itself is the same, but it's italicized in a sense. And it shows that it's closer to reality. You know, because I feel like that's the expression I get when I see fonts that are dissimilar. Like, if it's the same font, we have a literal, like, what's happening in the present is not italicized, it's just in this basic form. Whereas things that are italicized or bolded could either mean emphasis, or it could be a flashback, etc. And like you mentioned, yes, the fact that it most likely is the same text between these two, the same text, or same font is actually the right word, I should say.
Yeah.
Same font. Good. Same font. It just stood out for me. Also, one more thing I wanted to point out, I forgot to mention this. I noticed you circled Chimera-san's right behind Anya. I don't know if this is symbolic in any sense, and we do get a zoom in to see Chimera-san looking up, you know. And I feel like it's always important to know, like, you know, if Endo-san is, like, always giving attention to small things, the fact that Chimera-san's here again, Chimera-san essentially is being the protector. You know, he's right behind her for a reason, because he's got her back. I kind of got the message from there. So he's watching for Anya's back, in a sense, but also looking up. I guess looking at us. So it's very interesting to see just something so out of place, but at the same time seems kind of symbolic in a sense. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But moving on. I like that you also mentioned world peace, which is, again, like we all mentioned, the fact that Anya says for world peace, Lloyd has to know who she is, or Tasogari needs to know who she is. So we get to see that it's very strong with her, see world peace. So moving on, we don't have time for tears. You're not here to play, you're here to study. Very interesting. Now it makes me curious as to what is she studying that made her hate it? Like, is there anything particular? And we see Anya's hair is styled with the horns here. And based on this image, Anya might be a year older, based off, compared to her memory. She might actually be 4 years old here. At least
3 to 4, maybe.
she might be around 4-ish here. So it might be a year after, or maybe 3 or 4. Because in her dream, she looks more toddler-like, so I feel like she's 2 to 3 years old at that time. Here, she's probably 3 to 4. We don't have time for tears. You're not here to play. You're here to study. And then we see Anya getting really upset when it comes to studying. And then we transition back to Lloyd, who just came back home after talking to Frankie. And we have Lloyd here. That girl better not have trashed the apartment. Oh, right. I've got to remove the barricade. It's so funny because the way he says it too, like, have not trashed the apartment, in a way he's kind of like treating her like a dog.
Yeah, he's not treating her like a child.
Yeah.
Really.
Exactly, because I have friends who tell me, like, when my friend adopted a husky, oh my god, that husky destroyed his apartment. It's just really funny to just see this, that he's kind of like indicating that she's not human, she's a dog. And he's like, all right, I left the barricade here. I really love the scribble mark here. I don't know, it just reminds me of Snoopy. I just think it's yeah. It's just really funny when I see stuff like this. I'm like, there's a lot of like allusions here, or like references, and this one just reminds me of Snoopy, because every time they feel annoyed, they have this little ball of knot, like showing frustration. All right, I gotta move the barricade. And immediately Lloyd notices, or Twilight notices, there's a small difference. The scraping here. I think in the anime, they don't make it like this detail. They just show like a little bit of scratch marks, I think. But yeah, this is where I basically understood that, you know, Twilight is very attentive to details. So if Anya had not been kidnapped, then it would have been very obvious that he would have found out that Anya went through stuff. So he notices this small thing, so he catches this detail, and I love that Anya, you actually found the gun actually peeking out from the door. So nice catch on that. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Anya?
Not really. I'm just thinking that it's less subtle in the anime.
Yes, in the anime, but whereas the manga, it's like they really do show it. Huh. Interesting. And then this frame here, just this frame alone, so good. I feel tension.
Yeah, and also motion.
Yes, like emotion.
Like, it happens really quickly. You can see, like,
yes,
because it seems like they both are moving very quickly, and that's kudos to Anya.
yeah, absolutely. Kudos to them for sure, because yeah, especially for Endo, like how is he able to capture tension in this scene alone? It's just very, very cool, because I think it's the fact that we can't see Lloyd's face. I remember when I was young, when you can't see a person's face in literature, it's supposed to represent ominous, like a sense of ominousness. So I really like this small detail, like, you know, we can't see Lloyd's face, his hat is pulled down, and then Anya, you highlighted the gun that's peeking out of the door, whereas in the anime, I don't think they get the full view of this. I don't think. We see it from the side or something. They do?
I just looked at that scene again, and they do have this this full view for like a second or two, and they even showed another man hiding behind the sofa.
Oh yeah. You're right. I think I kind of remember, and I don't remember. Is the sofa facing towards him, so he's hiding behind the sofa? Like here?
Yes, the sofa is facing towards him in at least in the anime, so we could see another man hiding behind the sofa.
Interesting. That's actually very interesting to point out there. Huh. So yeah, very interesting that Lloyd comes home and he knows the moment he comes home it's a battlefield because of what we saw based on the barricade. So moving down to page 45, we have the guy with the pipe. He doesn't use his gun, right? He has a pipe on him. And as soon as Twilight goes in, he knows automatically things are gonna go down. So he ducks. He's prepared for this, and it's a very fast scene. Really love this impact. To really show the power of how much strength one of Edgar's goons is showing here. Like, we hear a crack. Fortunately, Lloyd has ducked and attacks him from the chin. Bam. So he already takes him out. And over here, we go down here. And I really like this action sequence is very cool. Very, very cool. Because something to point out. Oh, nice. So Anya has... Nice. Oh, and you can even see the steel pipe from the door too. You're right. That's so interesting. And then we see the other guy behind the chair. Nice. And we can make that comparison between these two. Actually.
Yeah.
The setting is slightly different though, for sure. I see. So the chairs are not here. It's moved on the other side, so it could accommodate the sofa to be in view. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing. Going down here, we have the action sequence. I did a little bit of mixed martial arts when I was in my early years of college. I was really into that phase. Something I learned is that anytime you attack the chin, instant KO. You're lucky if because what happens is when you aim for the chin, it does something to your brain that makes it turn off. So this is an instant KO, so he's no longer a threat to Twilight, and I really like this detail here. But of course, this guy comes back later on. So this is one way that Twilight has definitely handled one of the goons. So we have the other one having his gun out. And I like that Twilight uses his grocery bag as the distraction, and at the same time, while the other guy is shooting at the grocery bag, he throws... I don't know, that's tuna? I was gonna say cat food. It's funny, considering that, they're all drawings of cat inspos, throwing cat food. That's just funny to me. And then, of course, Lloyd avoids it, hides behind the table. And I feel like this makes sense, in a way. Is it? Because where does he come from? Because I'm trying to understand the form here. So he gets from the door. We know the table was on the right-hand side, but here I think this is something in terms of, I guess, the drawing changed, quote quote, which is matching more of the anime style versus the actual drawing reference on page 44 of Canva. Because if you were to just think about it in your head, the table definitely has moved over to the left side of the room. So something about the setting has changed, because technically the table should be on the left side on page 45. This table should be on the other side, because if it's on this side, that means he's at the front door. You see what I'm saying? The proportion or the placement's kind of off. So I like that they changed it in the anime, so it's more respecting the placement of stuff, because it makes sense, because he's coming from the sofa. Then this would be the correct angle. But this one looks like he's coming from this front door. But anyways, moving down here. And we have, let's see. So Lloyd definitely avoids getting shot. He's out of bullets, for sure. And Twilight grabs the chair, hits the guy with it, and he knocks him out. And he says, "Who the hell are these guys?" And then we get to page 47. Anya, and he's calling out to her. She's gone. Was she abducted? And I think it's really cute because, sorry, not cute in terms of the situation. I realize her bedroom is adorable. That's what I meant to say. Sorry, word choice. We get to see what her bedroom used to look like. And I don't know. I always feel like Endo likes to leave hints sometimes, or personality. So we get to see Anya's bedroom was quite cute back then. We do get to see Pengi right there on page 47.
Penguin or
it's a very
chip?
small. I think it's a small penguin. I think it's a small penguin.
Anyway.
So yeah, we have a small penguin, it looks like, and then right next to it is a cat. The reference. We also see two art forms here. We have, I think, daybreak, sun's rising, and then maybe sun setting down here. I don't know. Maybe it's a hint. I don't know. Just like I just love looking to attention to details. And then we see here Anya's missing, and we scroll down by whoever sent these thugs. But why? I've got to find. No, think this through. From the looks of it, I must have been compromised. I need to get myself to safety immediately. As for Anya, there's no shortage of other kids out there. So interesting, like, word choice again. There's no shortage of other kids out there. So messed up to say, because the way, again, like, I love that you also circled it, Anya. Just finishing my thought. It's just like, again, he sees Anya as a tool. She's nothing more than a tool for the mission. So to him, he just thinks, okay, if this kid's dead, then I can just find another kid. For some reason, I cannot write two. That's kind of weird. Oops.
Yeah.
So yeah, Anya is a tool. So what else did you want to say, Anya?
I think it is also shown in the Taiwanese version, but in the Japanese version, like so when he says he has been compromised, he needs to get himself to safety immediately. That is firm, right? This is what the spies have to do. But then, sorry, my cat.
Yeah, no worries. I love that your cat just comes in. It's now his job.
Yeah.
Squea's job.
And but in the Japanese version, they added ... before and after the sentence he's talking about when he thinks about Anya. So it's less firm. It's he's hesitating. He's talking about something he as a spy needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to Anya, he hesitates.
Yes.
By adding ellipses to the sentences. But it's only the Japanese version and also in the Taiwanese version, but less so in the English version.
Yes. I like that you pointed out. Is it before he says as Anya as well, like down here, ... Like here?
But in the Japanese version and also the Taiwanese version, there's also ellipses before and after. Like there are two more ellipses when he said there's no shortage of other kids out there. So he's really hesitating as he thinks.
Very interesting.
Although he thinks in a spy mind, but he hesitates a lot.
It's very interesting that you pointed that out, because I kind of see where who's the one who translated this? Something, I forgot her name, damn it. Something Low. I remember her last name. So Low, the translator, I think the decision to remove that is just kind of like honing in on, again, I feel like Low wanted to emphasize that Lloyd is more of a spy than he is someone of a human being. Because based on what we know so far, Lloyd has acted more like a spy than a father. He's been very distant from her. So I feel like that's the reason why Lowe decided, Casey Lowe deleted the ellipses here. Because I think she's trying to solidify or give this impression that Lloyd is actually very cold, Because if we show the ellipses here, ellipses shows a lot of emotions, especially if you, as a literary analysis, ellipses, of course, show hesitation. That's one of the strongest things whenever you see it. We already see that hesitation when he says Anya. As for Anya, well, ... This feels ominous. It feels ominous, but also feels like hesitancy too. Hesitate. So that's something that stood out to me in terms of impressions alone. Like, as for Anya, it's kind of ominous. Like, what's he thinking about Anya? It also feels like maybe he's hesitating too, but then Casey Lowe decides we're not going to put ellipses there, we're going to put a period to really show, okay, remember, this is Twilight as a spy. He's cold. People are just tools for him. This is a mission that he's willing to understand that, if that kid dies, okay, cool. I gotta move on because I'm a spy, gotta move on, gotta replace people it's the norm in terms of spies. So it just really gives more of a cold image of Twilight and what he does. At least that's why Casey Lo removed it. Whereas the emotion factor is already listed here. But to reinforce more dots, at least for me, if I see more ellipses, it's showing more hesitancy. You know? Like, there's something else he wants to say, but he can't. There's hesitancy that's stronger if I see more ellipses. And it would contradict Twilight, in a sense. At least in the English version, it's like, okay, so he's hesitating because is he starting to have guilt because she's a child? That's why there's more ellipses. At least that's the impression I got from it, if I were to see more ellipses in that case. So I just feel like the intention of removing extra ellipses is just a difference of his moral value versus the representation of Twilight in the English version. At least that's what I think on that difference. So if there's nothing else... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I think that is exactly at least I think this is how I read it. That is what Ender wants.
Mm-hmm.
I just posted a screenshot on the chat so you could see.
Yeah.
So you could see, like, on the first panel, on the panel of the left, I think he's like, it's more like memorizing what spy should do. It's kind of like it's out of a book, if you understand what I mean.
Oh,
so, and also I also want to point out that he uses the word lazy, calm down again, which I pointed out in like the first or second episode of the podcast.
Right.
That he has to calm down, and he has to let he could not let any emotions affect him.
Where does it say calm down? Is it like the one in the top right?
Lazy. Yeah, the top right, lazy. Vacancy, if you can see it.
Oh, is it the small text in the top right?
I'm going to circle it then. But and anyway, I think yeah, I think it's kind of like calm down, and then he just recite what him as a spy should do.
I see.
And then he starts hesitating when he thinks about Anya. Even he knows the best way is to give up. Yeah.
Yeah, because basically his cover's blown. Oh, yeah, I see. I see.
Yeah.
So up there. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So he basically he's like, yeah, I think he hesitates a lot here at least, and I am a bit sad that the translator decided to cross out the ellipses, because I think normally the translator likes crossing out ellipses.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would also understand, because in terms of translation, we want to make sure that the vision of the source is being captured. So I think that the decision to remove the ellipsis is again reinforcing that Lloyd has to go through, Twilight has to go through his spy training. And I figured out the one here that says, no, think this through versus calm down, right? So I feel like think this through is a replacement for calm down. Because again, I feel like when you highlighted that Lloyd or Twilight likes to say calm down a lot to himself, it just goes to show he is emotional. And we do see him say calm down again in future chapters, like the interview, for example. Think this through gives me a different impression of Lloyd. So when I hear the saying think this through, I just feel like he's a very logical man, right? He's very logical, cannot write, sorry. So he is trying to think this through, and it just feels different when he says calm down, because calm down just gives me more of the impression of he's highly emotional, he needs to collect himself. It's a different kind of vibe in a sense, Wouldn't you say, Moss? If you heard someone say think this through versus calm down?
Yeah, very different.
Very different, right? Because if I were to hear, no, think this through, I feel like he's very illogical. Maybe it shows more strength in logical thinking versus calm down means he's more of a worrier or like he freaks out a lot. At least that's my impression. What else do you get from that, Moss?
So calm down kind of suggests like an overreaction, whereas thinking this through is you're being illogical, you need to take a second, but calming down is like more like of a long-term thing.
Yes. I agree. Like, yeah, it really gives a different impression of Lloyd. So I feel like that's one of the decisions made here was to change calm down to think this through is kind of more reinforcing Lloyd as someone who's more logical. So I don't see him as someone more emotional other than if he actually says calm down, that would show more of him. I feel like that's kind of the frustrations of the small nuances of translation is that we don't get like accurate access to who Twilight is because we're trying to get the impression of him as a spy, which I kind of get because again, this is like the first chapter. They're trying to get people hooked into the serialization of Spy Family, so it makes sense. It's a decision, just to get investment, I guess you could say. Yes. So moving on to page 48, we have the guy that we assume that Lloyd did knock out. He did knock out first, but he definitely came back. We have I'll start over from square one. Very interesting. And we actually think that he hit Lloyd at the back of the head, but we know that's not true. I'm pretty sure Twilight was a step ahead as usual, and we see that he's lost a tooth from that impact earlier. And we hear a thud. Okay, so it's actually kind of funny because that's what I'm trying to say, transitioning to. Okay, so we have Anya in a cart. That's cute and funny at the same time. So Edgar and his goons, they surround poor little Anya, age 49. What's the deal with the kid? And she's like whimpering, she's scared. Don't tell me she's Twilight's. We don't know, but she was in the apartment the transmission came from. The transmission? There was some sort of barricade outside of the apartment. Outside of it? Why? We don't know. And I think that's just so funny. Because it just goes to show, I suppose Edgar is trying to understand, like, you know, if this is actually Twilight's daughter. I think that's what he's trying to figure out. What's the relationship? Is this his daughter? What is she? And then I see Moss highlighted. We don't know. Okay. Why did that stand out to you, Moss?
It's just kind of to reinforce the idea of the fact that just no one really knows Twilight. Like the fact that they hadn't expected a kid, they don't know who she is, and then all of these questions of like the answers are just we don't know. Like we don't know who she is. We don't know why there was a barricade.
Okay.
It's just to point out like the fact that they were kind of underprepared in going into attack Twilight, and they were very naive in a way, because obviously they should have picked up on the fact that there was no Cipher and it was just this is Twilight here, but they still believe that this is to do with Twilight, even though it's a kid and there's nothing to kind of say that, you know, there's any relation to him. Obviously there is, but there's no reason for them to actually believe this. There's no evidence.
Oh, that is actually a good point too. And it's like you said, like Twilight is so good at his disguise and being able to make himself invisible that no one really knows. And just like you mentioned, they were underprepared. They didn't know what they were getting themselves into. They thought they were prepared. And then they see a kid. They're like, okay, what is this kid doing here? But this is the kid that came from the transmission. So I think the reason why they were able to jump to the conclusion that maybe this kid has a relationship with Twilight, like being maybe family related, because the fact that she said Tasogare, like on the text, and they said they found the transmission and there was just a kid there and there was a barricade, they can kind of put two and two together that the kid knows. They assume that she knows his identity.
Yeah.
Ugh, I don't know what's up with my text. My text is not texting. She knows.
But isn't it also funny because we all know what happened? So it's kind of like, I think from their perspective, it must be like Twilight being Twilight. But from our perspective, it's like the funniest reason why there's a barricade outside.
Yes, it's a, what do we call this? Dramatic irony. It's a dramatic irony.
Yeah.
Because we know something that they don't know. So it's very interesting that, again, mentioned here, just like you mentioned, why is there a barricade outside of his apartment? Dramatic irony, that's why. And I'm gonna write it down here, dramatic irony. Because they don't understand, like, why did he barricade? Maybe the kid was a threat. Because it's just really funny to me. Outside of it, why? We don't know. So you circled this, Anya. Why we don't know? Is it just reiterating Moss's?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
I'm just reiterating.
Yes, like that they don't know. Like Twilight is shrouded with mystery. We don't know. So scrolling down, we have, well, maybe we can use her as a hostage to turn Twilight. We'll make him tear off the foreign minister's hairpiece personally. And then we have Boss. I think it's time to move on from the hairpiece. I think this is funny. The obsession with the hairpiece. I think it's just really crazy when you put it that way. Also, something off in terms of, maybe it's just me, the drawing, I guess. Anya is bigger than the cart, but then here we have this angle that Anya is kind of big, but going back to the first panel, page 48, it looks like the cart is bigger than Anya. I don't know. Maybe I'm bad with perspective. It just feels off for me. I don't know. But yeah, the obsession with the hairpiece, toupee, I believe is how you pronounce it, right? Toupee?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't say that word enough, so I'm not sure. So, Edgar kills him. Pew. And then the thing is, Anya's right there. She witnesses all this stuff. How is this kid not traumatized? I'm pretty sure she's already like pretty badly traumatized as is. But she sees someone die in front of her. No concern whatsoever from Edgar's part. And everyone else is like, whoa, transparency is essential in government. Toupees are a no-go. So I like this because this is very hypocritical. Because in government, you want them to be transparent, but at the same time, they're not transparent. You know, this is I guess the best word I want to use is paradox.
Mm-hmm.
The statement alone is a paradox because the government tries to be transparent for the public to win their favor, but at the same time, they're not transparent because in order to win their favor, they have to do things behind the scenes too. So, kind of funny how he's saying like the toupees are no-go. Also, the minister is a traitor who's been secretly backing the West. Anyone who advocates for a traitor is themselves a traitor. And then Anya's just focusing on the gun. A silence pistol. Oh my goodness. So interesting. In terms of politics, I don't want to get too much into it because I really don't like politics. Especially with what's happening in the world right now. Also, the minister is a traitor who's been secretly backing the West. How does he know that is the question. Like, anyone who advocates for a traitor is a traitor themselves. Again, using charged words. Charged claims, charged words. Divides a nation. And it adds on to the tension that's already there for the East and West, so... It's very interesting that they're very extreme. Like, they call them like, oh my gosh, I can only say this in terms of America right now. They use the term leftists and rightists a lot. They're literally using the extreme ends, you know? So here they're really using the word. It's secretly, if you vote for that minister, he's a traitor. He's for the West, so anyone is, for them, it's also a traitor themselves. So it kind of gives that whole leftist, rightist tone, especially what I'm feeling right now in terms of the US at the moment.
Yeah.
This is my parents watch a lot of politics shows lately, like I think the one we're watching is like a lot of news anchors, very leftist rightist. They keep saying this kind of frame, this expression, like, oh, this is the Democrats, leftists, blah blah blah, stuff like that. Very extreme stuff. So seeing that here is just like, oh my god, you're really throwing me back into the US the US stuff right now. Then we have coming down here, a real life bad guys. So, oh, did you want to say something, Anya?
Yeah. You talked about how Edgar is a hypocrite,
Yes.
and I think it's interesting because he obviously doesn't really care about transparency,
Yeah.
because we can see what he's thinking about. But I think Endo likes to do one thing, which happens again when he introduces Yo and Fiona. He uses this every time.
Mhm.
Like, transparency is essential in government. This is not true. This is not what he's really thinking about. But when he says the minister, everyone who advocates for a traitor is themselves a traitor. This is something that he, and of course he has already filtered a lot of things out.
Mhm. So I think you cut out for a second. Did you say like this is something that he, and then you cut off?
I think this is something he really thinks about. Like, he really hates traitors or anyone who supports the West.
Oh, in terms
And
of
it
Edgar.
is, yes, and you can see it in his thoughts, like, but also of course he filtered a lot of things, like his mind is just violence.
Yes.
And the thing I've highlighted is that in both the Japanese version and the Taiwanese version, it just says kill, 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 kill. So this is like almost single-minded in a way, that his mind is filled with violence.
Yes.
And that he's talking about the truth when he talks about how much he hates the West, or people who supports the West.
Yeah, exactly. And it just goes to show there too, like there's something I wanted to highlight. What was covered behind his head? Terrorist, you know?
Yeah.
They're really showing that I wish I had the right words to say it. Like, they were fronting this whole political campaign to really see the Western, the Westalians as like Western dogs, really villainizing them. And then, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
very, very violent mind, you know, like Anya is getting access to all of this really dark thoughts, very, very dark thoughts. And then,
And yeah.
like, dump the bodies, right?
And he also mentioned cutting off arms and legs.
Yes, cut off arms and legs. And this one says, when I'll kill, it's being covered here.
Mm.
And then extract information.
Yeah.
Kind of make sense of them all. Extract information, cut out the arms while he's still away. So I feel like he's making an example out of Twilight. Once, quote unquote, he gets his hand on him, he's trying to extract information from him and make an example like, oh hey, Stallions, we have your number one quote quote spy, blah blah blah. So it's very violent, just like you mentioned.
Mm.
And then Anya has access to this, but I'm surprised because it looks like it doesn't bother her. So she's just like, she's really standing out by saying, oh my god, he's a real life bad guy. So poor Anya has access to all of these traumatic words. So we have here boss Nguyen and his guys are back from the apartment. Oh, okay, I don't know if this is related. I gotta point this out because this is historical. Nguyen is a Vietnamese last name.
Yes.
I don't have the exact dates, but I think of Vietnamese War. The Vietnam War, maybe? I don't know.
I've posted a link of a Wikipedia page about Vietnamese people in Germany.
Oh, sorry. Hold on one second. Let me read that. So you said, East Germany began to invite North Vietnamese students to attend study and training programs there as early as the 1950s. Cooperation expanded in 1973 when they pledged to train a further 10,000 Vietnamese citizens in the following 10 years. In 1980, they signed an agreement with the Reunified Socialist Republic of Vietnam for enterprises in East Germany to provide training to Vietnamese between 1987 and 1984. The East German government viewed industrial trainee program not just as a means to increase the labor supply to local industry, but also the development aid to the poorer member of the socialist bloc. By the mid-1980s, Vietnamese, along with the Mozambicans, comprised the main groups of foreign laborers in the GDR. From a population of just 2,482 in the 1980, the number of Vietnamese residents of East Germany grew to 59,053 by 1989, with the largest influx in 1987 and 1988. They were concentrated mainly in the Karl Marx Stadt, Dresden, Erfurt, East Berlin, and Leipzig. Their contracts were supposed to last for 5 years, after which they would return home. Okay. So they were pulled in for just training, right?
Yes.
So it just made me wonder, like, okay, so I thought it was a Vietnam War related.
I don't. I think it's related because it's basically represent it is a war between the capitalist bloc and the communist bloc.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not as sure if it's directly related to like why the Vietnamese immigrate to Germany.
That's so interesting, and I really love, again, I love that Endo just captures a little bit of history into the text. So that's why it stood out to me when I heard like Nguyen. I was like, oh, that's a Vietnamese last name. I have a lot of Nguyen friends, and his friends are back from the apartment. So, very interesting. So you mentioned, again, it was just some sort of training, right?
According to the Wikipedia page, it is.
Okay, so they were there just for a short time. And again, they captured a timeline for us. So this took place in the 1980s, late 1980s.
No, it started in the 1950s.
Oh, 1950s. Okay, so at least
But
it's
it
inconsistent.
expanded in the 70s.
So that's when the program started, and then it expanded in 1970s. So again, there's consistency with 1970s being pointed out here. That makes a lot of sense. Now we can go ahead and scroll down here. We have page 51. Oh. So it looks like they caught the guy. I like that they sacrificed giving up one of Lloyd's outfits. And we have nice work. You know, I wonder too, this makes me quite curious. Like, does it not bother Edgar that since one of the guys actually had his suits, they could technically get the DNA off of him? Right?
I don't think DNA is
a thing back then.
Yeah, I think DNA as evidence probably developed in it. The technology is probably developed in the 90s.
Yeah, it was not at all something major back in like the 60s and 70s. It's a very modern thing. Yeah, like Anya said, it was like the 90s where it had its big breakthrough.
The 90s. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was actually just starting to look it up and be like, when did it become a thing? I'm glad you guys have that knowledge because I don't. I'm like, wait, that's actually very brilliant. I'm glad you guys pointed that out. So they weren't able to trace him, even when though it makes sense because in our, like, you know, now that we're in modern day, we start to worry about things like DNA, can they trace him back, find who he is, blah, blah, blah. But like you guys mentioned, since this is the 1970s, I think Endo purposely put some distance. So he thought, okay, since it's 1970s, they don't have DNA until 90s, right? And I'm gonna point here.
I think they have DNA, but the technology is developed or applied in criminal cases in the 90s.
That makes sense. That's why a lot of cases like are revisiting old stuff, like old, like I was gonna say old news, like old I can't even remember what I'm trying to say. Old investigations. Yeah. Like, old investigations are being revisited because now we have technology on DNA, so we can reaffirm if what happened is what happened. So interesting, yeah. So we have the 90s and we have the DNA tech now to determine, but since it's 1970s again, Twilight is more like, okay, yeah, you can have my clothes. We go here and we said, and Edgar says, nice work. Guy moved like a pro. I really think it's really him. Dude, go lie down. And it's very interesting that, again, in such a short time, this is kind of like a on-the-fly kind of thing. I feel like Twilight doesn't know Nguyen enough, so he's very careful of how he talks. Because, I mean, at one time, he was acting as one of the bad guys, right? He infiltrated a bad guy team in the past. So I think he's kind of reusing some knowledge from that time. Guy moved like a pro. I think it's really him. And it's just a very small thing. Go lie down. And then Anya's looking at Lloyd, and or Twilight, and she's like, hopeful expression in her eyes. Like, she knows. Like, we might as well put, like, exclamation points right here. Like, she knows. She's like, oh, that's my dad. So we have here, hello there, Mr. Twilight. I believe you have some photographs that belong to me. And then when we reveal here, we actually see Nguyen himself. Nguyen? What the hell? Then who? The girl she's gone to. Very quick. Oh no, not again. It's just so funny. Then we go down here. This was a mistake. Risking everything by waltzing right into enemy territory. Yeah, don't know the life of spies, but for a spy to really, like, enter enemy territory is very, very risky. Especially when it's just by himself. He needs reinforcements, right? That's what I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a mistake, because, like, it's very dangerous for him to go in alone. And then we have Twilight going into doubting himself because he's going against the grain of what he's been trained to. I'm not fit to be called a spy. And then Anya starts crying. She's like, Papa. And then she starts crying. Hey, it's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you. And then it's kind of interesting here because we can tell Anya actually reveals Papa. And thank goodness she actually doesn't say Papa, because she knows who he is, you know? Like, he would definitely be kind of sus about her. Be like, how does she know it's Papa? It's just the fact that she said bois at the end. He's all like, what? Papa? What does that mean? So in a way, again, Anya covered herself before realizing that's her dad. And then Anya's screaming, I'm not scared. And it's actually cute. She says, I'm not scared. In a way, it's... I believe Anya. She's not scared. She's relieved. That's why she's crying.
Yeah.
She's relieved. That's exactly what's happening here. She's just so happy. And in a way, she's kind of, like, apologetic of what she did. Like, you know, she knows what she did wrong. She got in danger. And she's just relieved that her dad was there to save her. More crying. This is exactly... Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that in other versions it's not Anya saying that I'm not scared. It's more like Twilight saying that don't be scared of me.
Oh, okay, so there's a translation difference.
Yeah.
So it's like this chat bubble. It works in terms of Anya, but it also works in terms of Twilight too. So you said don't be scared of me, or what is exactly what he says?
I think it's Twilight saying that don't be scared of me. Like, it's okay, I'm not going to hurt you. Don't be scared of me.
Okay, I'm gonna type that down as reference. Don't be scared of me.
It's like Kawakanayo.
Oh. Okay, I know that expression. And I'm just gonna add this and highlight it. I'm gonna use pink because it's my color. Don't be scared of me. Very interesting. Like that this chat box belonged to Twilight. This isn't the first time that this has happened, guys. Like, chapter 103, the quote-unquote 100 episode, or the 100 chapter, it goes to show that there's a swap up between Twilight and Lloyd. I mean, Twilight and Yor's text. Like, Yor took over Twilight's bubble. So, very interesting here that, in this sense, it's Anya and Twilight swapped. Because originally it was Twilight who was supposed to say, don't be scared of me, but Anya takes over and says, I'm not scared. Okay. Awesome. So I guess this would be a good place to stop at because, let's see, in terms of time. We have another, well, we're finishing 5 minutes early, technically speaking. So it could be a good place to stop for now. Would you guys say?
Yeah, I was thinking it would be because obviously we go into Lloyd next, and I think that's a very good place to start an episode.
Yes, and then yes, we're gonna go inside his head for just a moment. So we go ahead and just a final thing, connecting to the next scene, which will happen. Crying is highlighted. I like also even Anya jumped on that. Crying. So it's like the third time we see crying being mentioned, right? First was I think maybe the first one. No, this is the second time it's mentioned. The first one was with Frankie saying like, "Oh, babies cry," or like, "Children cry." This is the second time he mentions it.
Yeah.
And then it's a rule of third, I believe it's what it's called in literature. Rules of three. I don't know what's up with my writing. My equipment doesn't want to write. Rules. Rules of third, I think, is what it's called.
Rule of three.
Rule of three. Yeah, I can't even write it. I give up. I'm just gonna hit the backspace.
I think, yeah, we talked about like the Trinity. This is part of the rule of three.
Yes. And it's not always applicable, I guess you could say, because rule of three is usually, what do we use it for? Rule of third is I cannot write an S, I'm sorry. Rules of three. There's I'm actually gonna look into it just to double check myself, because I know rules of three is used as a it's used as a foreshadow. Rules of three in literature. What did you want to say? Go ahead first.
I think realistically, because I think if you repeat it 3 times, for example, then it would make an impression.
Yes, absolutely.
So I understand what you mean by it is a tool for foreshadowing.
Yes. So I just pulled it up. Rule of three in literature and other forms of communication is a writing technique where the 3 words, phrases, or sentence are used in a row for emphasis and impact. It's a powerful tool because it creates a sense of rhythm, completeness, and memorability. Here's a breakdown of effects and some examples. So why the rule of three works: rhythm and flow. The 3 units create a natural rhythm that's pleasing to the ear. It establishes a pattern that's easy to follow and remember. Emphasis and impact. The repetition of a similar structure 3 times amplifies the idea that's being conveyed, so crying, of course. It makes the point stronger and more memorable. And in completeness and wholeness, 3 often feels like a complete set. It suggests the beginning, middle, and end, giving a sense of finality. And memorability, the repetition and rhythm makes the phrase easier to recall.
Yeah. Although I might not agree this is an example of rule of three, because rule of three usually occurs like together. They are placed together. If that makes sense.
It makes sense, yeah.
So it's
yeah. Like for example, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's the famous 3 phrases from American Declaration of Independence. It's a rule of 3 express fundamental rights. That's some of the examples here. I just see it as like rule of 3 could be extended as a foreshadow, because sometimes repetition's always foreshadow, as far as I know. How the rule of 3 is used: creating a sense of rhythm and flow. Again, think of how a song's chorus repeats 3 lines of a phrase. It's building to a climax. The 3rd element often carries the most weight or impact. I feel like that's where I'm coming from. It's like building to a climax, which we will see in the next page. Making a list of series or points. It can be used to present 3 related ideas in a concise ways. That's another way. Adding humor or wit. The unexpected third element can create a humorous effect. Persuasion. The rule of three can make an argument more persuasive by emphasizing key points. Yes, so the rule of three can also apply to a larger structure like sentences or even paragraphs. For example, a character might face 3 challenges, or a story might have 3 distinct acts. In summary, the rule of three is a versatile and effective literary device that enhances writing by creating rhythm, emphasis, and memorability. It's a valuable tool for writers to use to make their work more impactful and engaging, which makes sense, because this is about to address a third time of crying, right? So, doesn't he mention crying again in terms of when he rented out the books? I actually don't remember. I'm actually like going back. I'm going back to check it out.
See. I don't think it says crying. The books didn't mention crying.
Not at all. Like, he didn't say like, oh, kids just cry. He only mentioned it to Frankie.
Yeah.
Was there
Yeah, I remember the books being... We mentioned trust about the books.
And
Yes.
communication.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trust and communication. Was there anything else before that about crying? I can't remember, because I feel like there was.
I mean, Anya did cry.
Yeah, I think when they're out for their first outing,
Yeah.
she cried, and then Twilight bought her a bag of peanuts.
Okay, that could be the first then. It could be. Like, instead of a saying, it's showing. Illustration versus dialogue. That could count. So the first one is her crying, and then Lloyd mentions it as crying again when he talks to Frankie. And then the finality is when he's carrying Anya out. So that's gonna add the memorability. And it makes sense. That's a rule of three already played there in terms of repetition and adding finality to it. It counts. Okay. Anything else to add? Or we're...
Not really.
Okay. Lovely. So it looks like we've finished our part 5. Do you think we'll finish this in part do you think we'll finish in part 6 or 7? What do you guys think?
I think maybe part 7.
Maybe part 7.
Like, because we're almost there, but like the end of the chapter is quite like heavy.
Yes.
With like multiple topics. You've got Lloyd, then you've got the Eden exam, an interview, and the beginning of the interview or the introduction of it. So you've got quite a lot to get through. So I'd assume 7.
Possibly, yeah.
Mhm.
I would agree with you. I feel like at most we are able to get at least 10 pages captured. We are moving along quite quickly in this chapter because there's a lot of like action sequences. Nothing too deep anymore. Compared to the first couple episodes of our podcast, we were really into it, very deep and heavy, because again, it's just a foundation. So there's a lot of things to parse and discuss, I feel. But yeah, I think it's starting to get a steady flow, maybe 10 pages per sessions now, maybe 15 if we're lucky. Yeah, I feel like maybe we might finish, like you guys mentioned, maybe part 7. We might be able to finish chapter 1 by then. And then I think what happens is, I think towards the end of this, does it conclude where Anya and Lloyd are in the tram or the little train? Like they're moving to a new location? Oh.
I'm looking now. So it's the end of chapter 1 is where they've received the letter about the interview, and the phrase is both parents must attend with the applicant, but there is no mom.
There's no mom. Oh, okay. That's what concludes. And then next chapter is definitely we see Frankie, and then we also see Igor. Lovely. Okay. Yeah, I think part 7 might actually be maybe the end of chapter 1, maybe even getting into chapter 2. We shall see. I have to prepare the next book for sure. But yeah. To everyone who's watching this podcast, thank you so much if you stay till the very end. We really appreciate that you guys listen in to our conversation and you enjoy this discussion, deep dive discussion of Spy Family. It's just really fun to explore these references, the meaning, the author's decisions and stuff, style, etc. with Anya and Moss, because you guys always come up with like, or you guys have knowledge that I don't have. Like for example, knowledge of the spy radio, knowledge of Morse code. Oh my god, it's just amazing just having, like, for me just to be here and listen to you guys talk about it. It's just amazing. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing your guys' wisdom with us.
Yeah, thank you for letting us.
Of course.
Thank you for inviting us.
I'm always happy to have you guys. Oh my gosh, I will never have a podcast without you guys here. But yeah, I guess with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and end the stream and have a small discussion. And we wish you all a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Stay hydrated, eat something, rest, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
私の代わ